bit before.
Yeah, it's all right, mate. I like to just warm into it.
Yeah.
Like, I've always done meetings where it's very much like, right, now's your time to speak, and then you've got to speak in front of, you know, an audience. But like doing them almost like a conversational type is really good, because I think that relates to people a lot more.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, you know, if someone's out there struggling like I was, and they see this like meeting with like all these, it's quite intimidating. But if you've just got two people chatting that have had a similar experience, I guess it's a bit of a nice intro into the world of sobriety, if you know what I mean.
How was your experience with your first meeting? Because I didn't go to AA or any meetings, but I like swear by the program from people like yourself and from friends, and we've had the conversation offline where like I work a program, but it's just not a 12-step program.
Yeah, I think everyone needs a program. For me, I needed like quite a militant approach to it when I first came in, because I can swear, right?
Yeah, of course.
I was absolutely fucked.
Fuck shit cunt, mate. So
I was fucked as a cunt. But no, like I come out of my third rehab, you know, and even saying that, like things like rehab, like I never thought that would happen to me.
Yeah.
You know, it all started as fun. But we'll go into that later. But yeah, first time I went to a meeting, everyone was a lot older. Was the first thing.
Yeah. How old are you, for people that are listening?
I was 21 when I came in, and I've been using since I was about 13, 14.
Yeah, fucking hell.
So quite early on.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone was like 50. What I couldn't relate to is everyone looked good. Everyone looked well.
Yeah.
And like, I didn't, because I was like 30 days sober, just come out of rehab. You know, I didn't even know who I was. I was insane. And then I went to this meeting and everyone looked well. So either I thought they're not like me and they're all just doing this for like some sort of like fad, or there's something that they've got that I don't have. And it turned out that they had something that I didn't have. And then that's when I wanted to know, what is it? Because, you know, there was like my first sponsor, and again, like you say, it doesn't need to be this program or anything, but like it can be anything. Like I suppose people look at you, right?
Yeah.
At where you are now, and they can't see that person that you were 2 years ago. People do it with me all the time, and I'll be 4 in November, and I show them pictures. I have to show them pictures of what I used to look like, because otherwise, like, people can't relate. But I suppose that's the power of finding what works for you, is that like my life's unrecognisable now.
Yeah.
It really is unrecognisable.
I agree with what you're saying, because I even thinking of I was at a wedding, and you know, like randomly they say, like, I don't know if you found this, but you seem to just like attract other sober people. Yeah, and like I actually think that the bride at the wedding put us, this other geezer, on the table together, because he was like an ex-wreckhead.
Strategically. Yeah.
And just like his missus was sitting next to me, and then he was there, and then my missus was on the other side, and I was just talking to her, and like randomly was like, oh, how you getting home tonight? And she's like, oh, Ed's driving, like the geezer sitting next to her. And I was like, oh, fucking hell, that's a bit of a whack. She's like, yeah, you don't drink. I was like, oh, really? Neither do I. And then get into this conversation, and I had to do the same thing you're talking about. They were like, Rachel, my missus, was like, yeah, she didn't say it, but she might have alluded to, like, yeah, it was a bit of a mess. He looked like a different person. And they were like, what do you mean? And then I was like, look, that was me. And they were like, no way. Like, they couldn't relate.
But it's like it's interesting what you said about, like, you sort of attract sober people when you're sober, because like you attract drug addicts when you're a drug addict.
Yeah.
Like, this is one thing I realised in sobriety is I used to find people that were worse than me, because it made me feel better about myself.
100%.
Like girls, friends, I would attract myself. You know, it could be in a massive crowd of people at a rave. I would find those fucking animals because it made me feel normal. That's the reality of it. I just thought I was a social butterfly.
Yeah.
But I wasn't. I was just trying to justify how fucking insane I was. You know, but then the same thing happens with people that are sober, because I don't think you can fake suffering from addiction. People know, because it's such a illogical, insane, no-sensical problem that people that aren't them, they can't relate to it. Try and explain like you're using to someone that's normal.
Yeah.
They'll just say, you're fucking nuts, mate. But when I explain that to someone new that comes in, and I tell them what I used to do, the thought process, you know, everything like that, they go, fucking hell, that's me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's crazy,
it's
isn't
mental, mate. Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that links quite nicely to the first question I wanted to ask you was like, you know, what's your sort of earliest memory of drugs and alcohol? So going right back to the start, you touched on it at sort of being 13, 14. But what's that memory like? And How did you feel?
The earliest memory of probably drugs and alcohol, I mean, the first thing, I think I was about like 8 or 9, and my dad was quitting smoking, right? And he used to have, you know, those cafe cremes?
Oh, yeah.
Like the little mini cigars.
Yeah.
Right? And I was like 8 or 9, come back from school, and then something was telling me, smoke me. I don't know what it was. And I cut a little bit of it off, like literally a bit of that off, right? I'm in my school uniform and I go around the back and I smoke it. I take one puff and I go, fuck it, what have I done? I throw it, I take a shower, I wash my clothes, and I'm shitting myself. That was my first memory of, like, I guess, that sort of world. And then my first memory of actually drinking and using was at, like, this school sort of, like, social gathering. I think I was still, like, early on in secondary school. And this is when, like, drugs came into it. And my dad dropped us off at this, it was like a sort of a pub place, you know, like the function centre sort of places.
Yeah.
And I drank, you know, Stella cider.
Yeah.
CJ, yeah?
Yeah.
I had 4 of them. None of us drank. We were like, I don't know, 13. I drank 4 cans. I threw up violently in the car park. And then we smoked a spliff. And my friends were looking at me and they were like, "Are you all right, Harry?" And I went, "Yeah." And I went in there and I felt 10 foot tall. Like I was able to talk to people. Like all that, they say like we've arrived, and I fucking arrived.
Yeah.
All of that uncomfortable feelings I had as a child, all of that irritable, restless, discontentness was gone. And even though I just, like, any normal person tries something, they throw up everywhere and they feel all dizzy and woozy, they go, "I'm not doing that again." For me, I was like, I want to do that again. You know, because it gave me something that I'd never had before. And that was my first, but it was all innocent. Like people that say, "Oh, you know, I never enjoyed drinking drugs," is a fucking lie, because I loved it. I made my whole life about it, you know, because it literally did everything for me. The problem is like they stopped working, but that's further down the line.
But yeah, I think that's interesting, because I would say now, looking back, that I didn't enjoy drinking drugs. I enjoyed the feeling that drinking drugs gave me. So for me, actually, funnily enough, we all had Facebook names when we were younger.
Yeah.
And mine was like Nick's, Stella Cider, O'Shea.
Really?
That all of my mates. And then there was another geezer who just drank Stella. And it was like, I think his name was Jamie. It was like Jamie Stella, Burridge. And there was like all these different people. Like, and it's funny you say that, because I remember it was we bought bottles, like having 4 bottles of that, and the same feeling. Like you felt invincible, didn't you? And it was fun, man. At the time, it was fun.
Yeah, it did. Like it did for me what I couldn't do for myself.
Yeah,
that's the way I always put it. Simply, it did for me what I couldn't do for myself. You know, and I thought I want to do that again.
What? So you obviously you did do that again, because you're sitting here today talking to me. But how did that, you know, that sort of journey happen, and what happened next for Harry?
I never thought I had a problem. The problem only started for me when I tried to stop. The thing is, when I let my drinking and using just run riot, because I didn't understand that I didn't really have any control over what I was doing. It was okay, you know. My story is squat raves, you know, that sort of scene, and it was fun until I tried to control it. And then once I started trying to control it, I realised I can't fucking stop, and that's when the problem started. You know, that I don't tend to talk about it much, because like, everyone knows what it's like to fucking like get fucked up.
Yeah.
Like people wouldn't be listening to a podcast about sobriety and we wouldn't be talking. Like I know what that is. But yeah, the problem started when I started to stop. But yeah, I guess the drugs started to progressively get stronger. You know, I went from, you know, weed and alcohol to pills, you know, going into the rave scene. Then it was Ket, then it was Xanax, then it was diazepam, you know, then it was fucking cocaine, which was my worst.
Yeah. I think it's everyone's Achilles heel, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, I would do anything. I would do anything. Like, I was such a careful child. Like, I wasn't like the outgoing type when I was a kid, but when it came to drinking drugs, like I would just say yes. Yeah. I didn't give a fuck.
And do you, looking back now, can you figure out like why didn't you give a fuck? Like, what was going on, or do you still not know?
Well, I try and live my life on absolute accountability now, and what I mean by that is that's how I was taught, because I tried for so long to find the reason to why I was so fucked up. But the reality is I've got the bug. That's the way I see it. You know, it doesn't matter about my childhood. It doesn't matter about what happened to me. It doesn't matter about my trauma. It's got nothing to do with that. And the reason is because I see so many people that come in and they're from all walks of life. There's kids getting fucking bombed in other countries and they don't turn out drug addicts.
Yeah.
And if that's not a reason, then what else is? For me, I didn't have a reason. Like I had, you know, my parents were together. Yeah, you know, you go through hard times.
Everyone does. But
it turned me into that. And some people it doesn't turn into. So the way I think is as I was born with that tendency, you know, and that's my why.
Yeah.
I think people spend too much time looking at why is this happening to me, but the fact is it has.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
You touched on it before, like we've spoken off this podcast about that exact thing, you know, like saying like trying to figure out why, and then also like it sounds weird because we're on a podcast talking about it, right? But if you talk about all of the problems that you had and you know, you go through all these things and you're trying to justify it, you're almost like amplifying the issue.
Yeah.
And then you spend all your time focusing on all of those things. So like it was because my granddad died when I was 6 and I'm going through this trauma and I never really knew how to deal with it. And then you come through those feelings rather than what you said is like bang on, just taking accountability for the fact that you was being a fuckhead, like you know, that is what it was.
It was my fault. Like it's not my fault that I suffer from this, but everything I did was my fault. You know, people like to say, "Oh, I lost this, this, and this because of my drinking and using." Like, you know, I lost my family, which I did. You know, I lost my job, which I did. You know, I lost all my money, which I did. I lost my sanity. I didn't lose fuck all. I sniffed it and I drank it away.
Yeah,
that's what
the
I did.
brutal honesty of it.
I didn't lose it. It's not like losing a pair of car keys. Like I fucked my life up, and that like brutal honesty, I've had to have. Otherwise, my head will slip into that world of justification once again. The same justification that I used to have every single weekend, where I go, "Yeah, but you weren't that bad last weekend, bro.
Yeah,
just do it again." You know, it was because of that. It's because of that shit gear that makes you all prangy. It's because you didn't drink enough before you started taking gear. It's because this, and this. It's all bollocks.
Did you used to justify, like, so things that happened through the week? So what I used to do was, I'd be like, right, it's because my missus has pissed me off this week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, oh, yeah.
So that's why I deserve a drink. Or like, I've worked hard. You know, like, I've worked hard this week. I've done overtime. I've got additional money in my pocket, so I can justify buying that additional bit of drugs, and I can still pay for this. And I would always find a reason to use or to drink. Like, do you resonate with that at all?
Oh, 100%. As soon as you started talking about it, I started chuckling because, yeah, it would take as little as me stubbing my toe on a chair for me to hit the fuck it button. I'm not joking.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, when it really got down to it. But again, that was a justification. I thought that was my reason. You know, I've had a good week at work. Right, I'm gonna get a bag in, or I've got a rave. We're gonna get fucked up, obviously, or someone in my family's died, so I'm gonna use. But that's just a cheap excuse, because what the reality was because it didn't matter whether it was happy or sad. It didn't matter. The fact was that I was so uncomfortable in here. Whatever was going on in my life, I was so unhappy and uncomfortable in my own head that I would just find any sort of reason to use. But the reality was I was going to use either way.
Yeah. Yeah, you know? I think that's so true, because it is like a good week, bad week, birthday, bar mitzvah. I'm not even Jewish, you know? It didn't fucking matter. Like, it just was going to be, that was going to be the outcome of the week or the day. You know, football, again, was another thing. It's like, it's an excuse, like, football's on.
Yeah.
Like some Japanese game, and you're fucking trying to bet on this game, and you're thinking like, what am I doing? And then you have that. For me, it was like, you've touched on it as well. It's like staying stopped as well. People would say to me, yeah, but you didn't drink like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and so you can stop. And I'm like, yeah, but the minute the fucking alcohol passes my lips, or the minute I do one line of gear, I can't stop until I physically, my body's like, you need to stop. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's it. Like, touch an electric fence.
Yeah.
And it shocks you. You're not going to touch it again. Even if you have a few days off, Imagine if that was what we were talking about. You touched an electric fence, but then people go, oh yeah, but you didn't touch it again on Monday and Tuesday, but then you fucking went back on Wednesday and you touched it again, knowing, I know it's going to shock me, I know it's going to hurt me. Like, that's exactly the same as drinking and using. Like, that's the problem. I can't stay stopped. Now, I'll run out of money. I'll be on such a bad come down that I need some sleep, or I need to eat, or most of the time I run out of money. To be honest. I just ran out of money. And yeah, I'd stop, but like, and I want to like maybe put a disclaimer, like I'm talking about, like, my whole story is for the people that are super struggling, you know, like, there was no funny dance about it. I wanted to die, you know, and that was, I couldn't stop. It didn't matter what I lost, who I hurt, I just couldn't stop, and I just wanted to stop feeling the way I felt. And like, I think that's why sometimes I can come across as quite brutal, because like I needed that when I came in, because the reality is like most drug addicts will die.
Yeah, most people relapse as well. Like,
most people relapse
because they don't treat it with that importance that you're treating it with. Like a lot of people, you know, you get complacent in fucking anything in life. Yeah, and if you get complacent in your sobriety, because everyone always says to me like, you weren't that bad. I'm like, all right, yeah, for you, like it wasn't that bad. But for me, I have to put it up here at the top of my priorities, because everything else in my life falls apart. Yeah,
and look, like, I get it. If you're listening, like, someone's listening to their podcast, like, if I had listened to me talking and it was me at like 18, 19 years old, I go, what the fuck is that guy talking about?
Yeah,
I ain't got a clue. Like, it's not that serious. But like,
it can be.
It talks about ominous warnings, like, that I failed to heed, right? And what I mean by that is, like, there was so many warnings throughout my using and drinking career that this was going to go very, very badly wrong, that I chose to ignore.
Yeah.
It could have been anything. It could have been a near miss with the police. It could have been getting robbed. It could have been anything like that, or just like the times where I was lying there fucking clutching my chest because I've been too greedy. And I've had too big a line. Like, all those things where a normal person would go, I think I need to stop. I didn't listen to that. It's like, if anyone's had any of that inkling feeling that what they're doing is probably not the right idea, I'm someone that just didn't listen and continued to go down that road till it literally got to the point of either I die at 21 or I accept help. And that's the level I got to. And like, some people will never get there, and some people will go way past it, you know. But back to I went on a bit of a tangent there. So
do you know what I think is interesting? Because I had the same thing. Like, when you said that, it started, you know, like, you have these conversations with people and it starts to trigger things in your brain. And like, I was thinking about, I think it was my girlfriend's birthday, which was also on Valentine's Day, and I'd been out. So this was on, must have been on a Thursday or something. And I'd been out like Tuesday, Wednesday night, hadn't gone to sleep, went to work, went all the way through, and we booked into a hotel on a Thursday night. So just by the time, like 3 days up by now, and I'm sitting on the bed, like shaking, quivering, fucking, like you said, holding onto your heart. And she's like, "You all right?" Like, should I call an ambulance? And I'm like, no, it's fine. Just need a drink. I'll be all right. Let's just go have a beer. I'll be fine. Like, again, and I was exactly what you said. I was like maybe 22. And I was that 22-year-old who, if I'd heard what you were saying, would have been like, shut the fuck up. It's just a laugh, you know?
Exactly.
But like, you saying that made me think like, yeah, fuck. Like, so many things happened, which I just shoved to one side. And was like, that's not a problem.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's my whole point I'm trying to say is, but the reality is I think, and again, this might sound, but I'm just going to say it, like, the best position you can be in if you're a drug addict or you're an alcoholic is really, really fucked.
Yeah.
Because, like, think about it. I spent so many years just miserable, but just carrying on. You know, I was depressed. I wasn't happy with anything. I was drinking and using. It was taking all my money. You know, I just kept eking away at life. But what happened is when things got really, really bad, I was desperate. And that desperation was like the biggest gift that anyone could have given to me, because for the first time, because I've got a massive ego. I think I'm always right. I think that I know better than everyone. And I think I'm the most powerful person in the world in my head. I'd never say it, but in my head, that's what I think.
Yeah.
But like, when I was just absolutely smashed to bits by this, it was the first time in my life where I was like, I was ready to accept help, and I didn't want to know what it was. I just wanted to stop feeling the way I did, and that was beautiful, because that allowed me to be someone that could be helped.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, I always say it, it's like, I was the kind of guy that would be in the English Channel drowning and like a boat drives past me, throws me one of those little life thingies and go, grab on, and I'll be like, no, I'm all right, mate, I'm fine.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That was my level of just like,
it's mad.
Stubbornness.
It's fucking mad though.
Yeah.
Because why? Like why do we, I don't know, like you said, you're obviously wired differently to people.
Yeah.
And like, that's why I love having these conversations, because like, you get it. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, when you're talking to someone, you just know, and you try and explain this to people who haven't been in that situation, and they're just looking at you like, what are you talking about? Of course you'd take the fucking rubber thing. Like, shut the fuck up. It's like, it's just, I don't know, element of pride. And I think also when you're using as well, like, I got to a point where it was like a badge of honor, and I was like, I will use more than you. Like, I'll be the last one up. Don't care. Like, and you start to wear that as a badge of honor. But yeah, sorry, go on. You're gonna say something.
No, keep going. I was just listening.
Yeah, it's just so nice to, like, you know, have that conversation with someone who, and I think, like you said, the fact that you're being so brutally honest is going to resonate with someone. And this, you know, this episode, to be fair, this is never how the episodes normally go, which I'm loving, because normally it's very structured. But like, we've just come in and we're just putting the world to rights. But it's nice, man. It's good to have that conversation.
Yeah, and I think this is the most useful thing someone ever said to me about addiction, right? Addiction is the only illness in the world that tells you you don't have it.
Yeah.
And like, that's mad, because it's true. If you've got heart disease, you've got kidney failure, you know you do, right? And you're going to take all the steps you can to get better. But like, addiction, why it's so deadly and why people don't realise that they are addicts, is because it consistently tells you that you're not. I'm not sleeping on a park bench.
Yeah.
I haven't got pissy shoes. I'm not stealing meat from Tesco. I'm not a drug addict, because that's what a drug addict is, right? That's what I thought.
100%.
Again, just another justification, but the reality is, just because I've got a roof over my head, just because I've like sometimes got a job, just because like I've got a missus, doesn't mean I'm not a drug addict. It's my behaviour that means I am, you know, and how I feel about myself. So yeah, when someone told me that struck.
Yeah,
because it's true.
What's jokes as well is like, I used to hear all these sayings in early sobriety, like the ones that you're talking about now, and like people who have been like 10 years sober would say this stuff, and I'd be like, "You're a wanker, mate.
Yeah,
just shut up."
I know. I know.
I'm like, I don't believe it. Like, what are you talking about? And I'd listen to podcasts, you know, and I'd hear people say stuff, and I'd be like, "Nah, that ain't me. That's not me." And it's that self-acceptance. Eventually, like, so people talk about self-acceptance and learning to love yourself and learning to, you know, give yourself self-care, love, and all that stuff, which is important. But self-acceptance of realizing you are just a bit fucked is like, actually, there's a lot of beauty in that. And I think like the moment that you do that, and you said it as well, like the gift of desperation.
Yeah.
When you haven't got that gift of desperation, you'll just keep doing stuff. It's like being in a job that you hate, but it pays enough to cover your bills, and you have a little bit of, you know, a nice thing on the side, so you pay your bills and you can afford to have a nice car. So you're like, the job ain't that bad, but like, it's eating away at you inside. Yeah. And it's the same
but it's
thing.
giving you just enough.
Yeah.
To just keep going.
And it's like that with drugs and alcohol. It's like that first half an hour of like euphoria of like, yeah, man, I fucking feel on top of the world. Like, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it.
Wait, I do still. I think we've touched a couple of times where we've said like, oh, if I was listening when I was younger, like I wouldn't have listened to you. So I guess like, I don't know, maybe a good idea is for me to talk about like what a day of using was like. Yeah. For people to relate, because I get it, you know, and and again, I'll just be honest about what it was like. So let's take it back to, you know, early 20s. I was working in construction at the time, you know, doing my carpentry and VQ. So I don't know, let's call it a Friday, because we all have fucking Fridays. Everyone can relate to that. So all week I've been going. Last week was a bit fucking hectic, mate. You can have a quiet one. People are asking me to go out. Oh, there's this happening, there's that. I'm like, no, I'm not going to go out. I only got paid last week. I've already lost it all, right? So I've just paid tick to a few dealers, right? Because we've all done it.
Yeah, 100%.
Right, so I've made a solemn oath that I'm not going to do it. Solemn oath. And if you put a lie detector on me, it would have come back true because I meant it, right? Then at lunchtime will come around. I've had something to eat, right? And I start getting that feeling in my stomach, you know, when you think you're going to shit yourself.
Yeah.
Those sort of butterflies,
Yeah.
right? And I'm thinking, oh, God. And the thing is, I know what's going to happen because I've done it so many times. You know, I know what's going to happen. And then about 1 or 2 o'clock, I'm sending that text, "Do you want tonight?" He goes, "Yeah," because of course he is, because I'm his best customer.
Yeah.
You know? And then get home from work. A lot of the time, I wouldn't even get home. I'd be sorting out to meet my dealer before I got home. And I would meet him somewhere close to where I live. I get out of the car and the bane of my life was waiting for fucking dealers. But at the same time, that was the only fun part of it, was the 5-minute text. And when I saw his car pull around the corner, like the feeling it gave me, like I would literally run home sometimes, run, because I've got that bag in my hand and I would like, number one, I'm going to shit myself. Fact. Right? Any cokehead can relate.
Yeah, 100.
My stomach's going. Right? I've already got a drink at home and I need a fucking line. I run home. I scoop out a big line that's way too greedy because I'm greedy. I'd have something to drink, usually some sort of like spirit or, yeah, most times some spirit. Sniff a massive line, probably throw up, and then I'll be off. And that'll be the fun over. Because for the rest of the night, it was just pranging, like, watching stuff I shouldn't. And then it would always end up at 5 a.m. I'm looking at the door thinking that there's someone at the other side of it. I'm creeping around the house even though there's no one in the house. I'm trying to be quiet for who?
Yeah,
you know? And then I'd manage to get myself to sleep by drinking myself to sleep. And I'd wake up after about a couple of hours sleep. And I'll do it again.
Yeah.
And then on Monday, I make that oath again. Fucking animal, Harry. You stop doing that, mate. What I didn't mention is like the reality. Like it all started with pubs, clubs, and bars and raves, but it ended on my own.
Yeah.
Most of my using was in the house on my own.
I think, mate, like what you were saying as well is so fucking relatable. So, but you know, you said earlier like, oh, this is to people that are desperate. That is also relatable to just people that aren't at that gift of desperation yet, because that was everything you described apart from going home, because I would go straight from work because I was in London and I was like, well, I'm not fucking going all the way back to Crawley. That's fucking, you know, that's 40 minutes too long.
I'm a country boy, mate, so it's a bit different around there.
Yeah, so I'm like, well, I'm not fucking going back there. It was exactly the same. And for me, everyone would also, like when I was out, it wasn't about being out, it was about getting home. So everyone would be like, why do you want to leave? I'd be like, this is fucking shit in here. I'd be like, it's not, it's actually quite a social. Loads of people are talking to each other and I'm like, yeah, that's the worst thing ever. I want to get back to the kitchen or to my room or wherever and just fucking snort a load of gear and be isolated from people.
Exactly. It's an isolating illness and yeah, if I go, because that kind of using day that it described was, you know, when it was at full fledged, but even before that, you know, to make it even more relatable, like, yeah, we said so true. You know, at the pub, I'm not really listening. People are talking to me, but if I've got that obsession on me, you can be you could be telling me right the key to life, right, or about something about how to get to the moon, right, the most interesting shit ever. Yeah, it's just going fucking over. I'm looking at you, but I'm not listening because all I can fucking think about is when is that cunt gonna turn up? Yeah, with my fucking coke, right? Yeah. That's the reality of it. And I'm trying to drink as much as I can at the pub, and then as soon as I get that gear, I want to go. I want to leave. I don't want to be around people. They say cocaine's a sociable drug. It's fucking not. Maybe the first time you do it. Yeah. Right? And you're in the circle waiting for your turn to speak, you know, all that bollocks. But yeah, the reality of it is I know so many people that will listen to this and I know they're doing it, but it's so embarrassing because it is embarrassing. Let's be honest. Yeah. The only reason I'm happy to talk about this is because I own it, you know, and like because I've owned it, my life's good now. But like, that's an embarrassing thing to admit that like you are controlled by drinking and using, and that whenever you pick it up, you just want to go home. Yeah, do it on your own. That's so true because when you're using in those circles, like you said that you discussed, like everybody else is doing it as well. So, but the funny thing is,
all the people that I was doing it with, we was all doing that, but then we was all going home and doing it again, and no one would say they were doing it. And then occasionally, like, the more you would do it, the more fucked you get, the more you'd open up and you start saying like, yeah, like, I think this might be a bit of a problem, and they'd all be like, yeah, but do you want to get another one? You'd be like, yeah, all right, yeah, we'll get another one. But then, like, that's the last one, you know, and then fucking you do it again, and you know, it's fucking mad, mate. It's so relatable. Like, everything you're saying, proper relate to everything you're saying. So
I suppose it's because I am that guy. Like, you know, I'm a recovered drug and alcohol addict. You know, and because I work a 12-step program. You know, I'll be 4 years sober in November, and like, my life today is, like I've said, just unrecognisable. You know, I've done things that I thought were impossible. I've got my family back. And that's something that I think it's important to say of people that are in that dark place, is that, like, the first thing I wanted to do when I realised I was done and I wanted to get sober was I wanted everything back, because I'm still quite selfish. I wanted my family back, wanted my missus to take me back. I wanted all these things back, but the reality was that I had to fix myself first. And, you know, I say that to new people that come in, is like, all of that stuff will come, but it might not come back. You know, you might not get some of your family back, rightly fucking so if you're anything like me. But if you fix yourself and you honestly fix yourself, then all of that stuff will start to return to you, and you'll
that's fucking so true. Sorry to butt in.
That's all right.
It's just because when you said it will return to you, you stop. You're not focusing on that stuff and getting that stuff back. But when you sort your own shit out, they like, through them watching you sort their own shit out, they will reach out to you when they're ready, and there's nothing you can do. You know, you think, I'll do this to prove to them, and the minute you stop thinking about it is the minute it happens. Sorry to bite in, it's just literally...
No, it's true, and I'm glad that what I'm saying is...
resonating.
Like, biting with you.
Yeah, massively.
And you know, I haven't come on this podcast to talk about faith or God or anything, because it's everyone's own understanding. But the way it was explained to me, it was perfect, because I think I run the world, and I don't understand how egotistical and like selfish I was, thinking that my charisma alone, right, and my chat could get the people back that I'd abused for years. Reality is, you know, my family, my loved ones, you know, I'd just abuse their trust, you know. And here's another funny saying for you, right?
Go on.
Is that I was the last person to know I had a problem.
Yeah, facts.
Everyone else knew. My parents knew. My family knew. My girlfriend knew. My friends knew. I was the last one to realise. And I remember, it was quite funny. I remember when I was in treatment on a detox, and like, I texted a few of my mates, and I was like, listen, I'm sorry, but I'm going to tell you something that I think you need to know. Like, I'm a fully fledged fucking drug addict. And they all came back to me and was like, you fucking stupid, mate. We've known that since you were 19. And I was like, oh, was it that obvious?
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, we've tried to help you, you know, but I was the last one to see it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that question. Like, you touched on it briefly earlier about, you know, you said do 3 rehabs and everything, but what was the moment that you decided, like, fuck this, enough's enough?
I think external things in my life started to fall apart. I started to lose the things that we've been talking about. You know, I lost my job just by being fucking a liability. So I lost an apprenticeship. I was doing my carpentry apprenticeship, like I said. I lost that. I lost my girlfriend because I'd taken her on holiday and stuff, and basically just realised how much of a fucking, like, psychotic nutcase I was, you know, and so I lost that rightly, and the dominoes started to fall. Basically, is a long story short. I started to lose all those external things in my life, and then I could never rely on myself for my own happiness. I was never able to do that. Drink and drugs did that for me, and people did that for me, and things did that for me. And the problem is all those things started to disappear. So I've got nothing to rely on anymore for my own happiness, and I can't do it for myself. So that's when I really was in a shit position where I was looking around for things to blame, as I've always done. There was nothing there. It was just me. Everyone had fucked off. You know, my family didn't know what to do. My friends had wiped, like, They never wiped their hands on me fully, but like they were like, mate, I've got no fucking clue what to do with you. So they left, and it was just me and the bottle. And that's when I realised I want to stop. That was the first. That's what. And again, it doesn't need to go that far. Everyone's got a different story, but for me, it got to that point where I was like, okay,
yeah,
I don't want to feel like this anymore.
What does day one look like? You know, for people that are listening, and then we're now talking to the person who's on the other side. They've gone through everything you've said.
Yeah.
And now they're at day one. They might be at day fucking 20. They might be at 2 years, whatever. What was day one like for you?
I don't fucking remember shit, honestly. I was day one.
Or early stages of sobriety. Then doesn't have to necessarily be day one.
I guess for me, and because I can't not be authentic. Like day one for me, like I was detoxing. Right, I was in another fucking world.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But let's say when I came out of rehab, because that is day one really.
Yeah.
Because like treatment centers, rehabs, anything like that, it's a bubble. You know, it gets you 30 days clean, but you're in a bubble. You're literally in a bubble.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, when I was back in the real world, something had changed because I'd been at day one many times. You know, like we talked about, you know, I can stop, but I can't stay stopped. So I'd been at day one before. And but this time there was, I guess, an air of urgency about it. And fear, a lot of fucking fear, because for the first time I understood what was at stake, and I understood how lucky I was to have this chance and opportunity again. And the first thing I did was I went to a meeting, but the thing to pull out of that is I went to someone that had been through what I went through and gone through the other side, and I decided to listen to him. He told me to jump. I said, how high?
Yeah.
And that's the reality of it. But yeah, mate, I didn't know who the fuck I was for like the first year, to be honest with you. Like, you think you do.
Yeah.
But again, I was just running on a lot of pride. I was running on a lot of fear. And I was discovering things. The thing is like, drinking drugs fucks your perception up. It fucks everything up. You know, I was discovering things about myself that I should have found out when I was 15, 16. Foods I liked.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff like that, because I was just so gone the whole time. So the first year was just a lot of like discovery. And then recovery comes in waves. You know, sometimes I think like I'm in a good place right now. Earlier this year, mate, I lost the plot. You know, it really does come in waves.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, day one was interesting.
Yeah, I resonate with that massively. I think like you go back to the age that you started using that, you know, when you stop, and then you start listening to things like music, and you think, fucking hell, I listen to indie bands again. Like I just lost all sense of what I liked.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what I liked anymore. I didn't know who I liked. Yeah. All my friends, I was looking around like, I don't like any of you. Like, what the fuck? Like, and not in a, you know, that's not to say that there's anything wrong with those people. It's just like, we have nothing in common.
I get totally what you mean.
You're not a bad person. You're a good person. But I don't like anything you like doing, you know? How did I spend 10 years with you doing this, and how did they spend 10 years with me? Because I wasn't even being myself. I was being a different person.
Yeah.
And you hit the nail on the head with the waves thing. Like this morning, I don't know, I had some fucking mad, emotional, overwhelming rush of just like, I feel so connected to my sobriety today. And I don't know if it's because I'm doing this or what it was. And then 2 weeks before that, in the run up to today, I was saying to my missus, I don't even think about it anymore. You know, like, but it's because we touched on it earlier. I stopped putting it at the top of my priority list for those 2 weeks, and nothing bad happened. You know, I didn't slip back into anything that was threatening my sobriety, but you do start to have different thoughts. And if you don't focus on your recovery, you know, whatever that is, it doesn't even have to be drugs and alcohol. Everyone's recovering from something. You will slip back into those those thought patterns.
Yeah, I think kind of goes back to what I said. Like addiction's the only thing that will tell you don't have it. You know, and it continues to do that for me now.
Yeah.
You know, that's the dangerous thing about it. You know, it doesn't matter how long. I think the longer you get sober for, the more dangerous it is, because think about your life now and how different it is. You know, I think about mine now and like the career I've got where I get to help people for a living, powerlifting, which has become my life.
Yeah.
All of these, I've got a missus that I love to bits, and she's not one of me. She's not like me, but she understands me.
Yeah.
You know, and it's so beautiful, mate. But the double-edged sword to that is that life that I used to have, I can't relate to anymore. And so there's a little bit in my head that sometimes goes, that weren't you.
Yeah.
But it was me. That's the reality of it. It was me, and I have to remember that, you know, and that's why I stay coming to do this sort of stuff 4 years on. That's why I go to meeting every single week. I sponsor people that are fucked. You know, I go do talks at rehabs. I have to be in that world because I will forget who I am. And it's happened to me before. I've forgotten who I was, you know, and that's the biggest challenge, I think.
I was going to ask you that. What's been the biggest challenge? And you kind of said it there, but
yeah,
how did you overcome that challenge? Like, what do you do?
Action. Because I was always a big talker. I always like to, I could tell you an amazing story because, like, you know, I'm a manipulative person. Drug addicts are.
Yeah.
And we're not honest. You know, never trust an addict. And I still say that now, never trust a drug addict.
Yeah.
So what is the opposite of that? So for me, you know, I have a list of my defects, right? I went through this with my sponsor, and like, I'm dishonest, I'm self-centered, I'm egotistical, I'm guilty, and I'm jealous, and I'm all these things. So I have to look at what the opposite to that is every day, and try and act that way. So yeah, it's about action, because it's so easy for people to talk, and this goes further than addiction. Like, it's so easy for people to say what they're going to do, but doing it is a different matter. And that's been my experience as well. I have to just do it, and what that looks like to me is treating people kindly. It means showing up on time for stuff. It means treating myself nicely. It means respecting things. That's what it means to me, and it's those little things that seem so far removed from like a drink and a drug problem, but in fact they are so closely aligned, you know. So yeah, small things but consistently done over time is what I've had to do.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think it's like, again, it's like looking inwards, isn't it? Those little things that you've written down, a lot of people probably experience, and whether you're fucking using drugs and alcohol to deal with them or not, just becoming an all-round better person, like, it's going to benefit you from looking in and just getting honest with yourself. Like, this is probably one of the most honest conversations I've ever had on this podcast, in terms of like just cutting through the bullshit, like, you know. But it's refreshing as fuck, because it's nice to just hear people say like, yeah, it's fucking hard, like, and it's still hard, and you're 4 years down the line, you know. And people always ask me, or I'm sure you've had it as well, like sort of 6 months in or 3 months in, they're like, that pink cloud's disappeared, and all of a sudden they're
pink fluffy cloud.
yeah. You know, all of a sudden they're like, they're starting to think that they're cured. And I think this episode and hearing you talk is going to be what fucking loads of people just need to hear.
I've had to, like, and trust me, like, sometimes I still find it hard, because I think, bear in mind, you know, I'm a professional. I've got a career. I've got, you know, people that I've got a lot in my life that's not about this, about addiction. But I can't, in good faith, ever be not honest about what it was like and what I've had to do to get here, because, like, it could be the difference in between someone getting this and someone not getting this, you know. And so yeah, I just have to remain honest, because that was the first thing that was required for me. And I'll say that as well. The only thing you need to get recovery is honesty. And I don't mean honesty like telling the truth. I mean brutal honesty about yourself. And I've had to continue to have that. Just honesty and faith that if someone's been where you are and they're telling you to do something, it's probably for a good reason.
Yeah.
You know, and but yeah, honesty, mate, is massive.
Yeah.
I lie all the time. Like, everyone does, like, because that seems quite contradictory, but let me explain. What I mean is, because I'm quite a dishonest person at heart, because I was when I was drinking and using, so I just have to try as hard as I can to be honest about things, and be honest about what I suffer from. Yeah.
I think something I wanted to ask you as well, like, you spoke about this to me before off the podcast, and you said it, like, you didn't have a drink and a drug problem, you had a thought problem or something along those lines. What was what was it you said?
Oh, fuck me, this will spin some people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But I want to talk about it because it again resonated with me like massively.
Yeah. So I said, I don't have a drink and drug problem. I've got a me problem.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is that if drink and drugs were the problem, everyone who used drink and drugs would end up like me, but they don't.
Yeah.
How come my friends can use the same amount as me, but they get up tomorrow? Or how can my missus have half a glass of wine, put it back in the fridge, go to sleep, get back up in the morning? She won't touch it till next Friday. So if alcohol was the problem, then it would have the same effect on everyone that it has on me, but it doesn't. So that's what I mean. It's a me problem, because think about it. Like, before I touched drink and drugs, it was something else. You know, it was friend groups. Anything to, because I started life feeling very uncomfortable. I was restless. I was irritable. I was discontented. I was just like a fucking square peg in a round hole, mate. It's the best way I can describe it. And drink and drugs took me out of that. But before that, it was people. After that, it was also people. It was things. It was places. It was whatever I could do to get me out of my own head. So I'm the problem. You know, that's what I'm trying to say by that.
Yeah.
You know, yes, when I put one drink in me, it sets this allergy off, and I'm off and I'm running. You know, that I won't deny.
Yeah.
But why do I do it in the first place? Why do I keep going back? Because I can't live in here. You know, life is so uncomfortable in here that I need something to take me out of it. And they just do the best job at it. They do what they say on the tin. Yeah. They're actually one of the only things that do what they say on. Obviously, if you get clean stuff, like they're the only things that do what they say on the tin.
Yeah, it's true, and they're always there as well. And I always used to say, like, they're so reliable. You know, like, you know that it's going to be easily accessible. Fucking cocaine you can get a hold of. I say 15 minutes, depends what dealer you're using. You know, sometimes 15 minutes in there time's actually an hour.
Yeah,
but
I don't even decide.
Yeah, but it's there, and it's the same with alcohol. It's always there, and it's going to give you the same feeling. Like, you know, you might need to do more of it to get the same feeling, but you know that you'll get what you want out of it eventually.
I love what you said there, because it's true. Drink and drugs is always going to be there. So how come now I walk down the drinks aisle of Tesco, I don't have any sort of obsession to do it.
Yeah.
I can go to the pub. I went to Boomtown sober.
Yeah.
Like,
I was at a festival literally Saturday. But
nice.
do you know why? It's because you've done the work.
Yeah.
That's why.
I would never say to, and I want to make that clear, don't fucking do that if you're new.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, don't be drinking non-alcoholic beers and all that sort of shit, because that's one road. But once you've done the work and you've changed in here, which we both have, you know, then you can do that sort of stuff. And that's why, like, mate, especially because I was young, I thought my life was over.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was like, what the fuck am I going to do without drinking? I'm 21, bruv. Like,
yeah, mad.
You know, but the reality is like, it's given me this life that I couldn't imagine. I can imagine what it would be like now. So, like, recovery ain't boring. Recovery's fun.
Yeah.
Like, imagine, like, I've got a dog that relies on me to stay alive. You know, I've got a girlfriend that, like, I have to think about someone else's feelings as long as mine. How hard that is for me. You know, I've got a job where people's health and lives are on the line. You know, like, all that sort of stuff. Like, that's what, like, a life beyond your wildest dreams is.
Yeah. Well, what like, you know, what are some of those things that you've benefited from through recovery? Like, what would you say some of the things that you're most grateful for?
I'm grateful for people that just cut the fucking bullshit and continually remind me of who I am. You know, I think that the opposite of addiction isn't sobriety, it's connection. And that's important, because what I'm most grateful for is the group of people that I've got that are just like me. We need to stick together because we're not like normal people. We might look like them, we might talk like them, but we're not. You know, nothing about what I used to do was normal. So to have a community of people that check me, right? They make sure that if I go off on a stray and I start acting a bit fucking fruity or whatever, they put me right back in line straight away. If I don't turn up to one of my meetings every week, I've got 10 people ringing me.
Yeah.
Where the fuck are you, Harry? 4 years on. That's important, you know, and so just surrounding myself with people that think, talk, and act like me.
Yeah, yeah.
That's important, mate. So, an analogy that, because what you said was the best thing about recovery, and I said it's the people that are just like me, you know, connecting with other people and people that keep me in check. Because there's a story about the guy that fell into a hole, right? And he's fallen into this hole and he can't get out. And that was me when I was drinking and using. And it doesn't matter how much I dig up the walls, I can't get out of the hole. So I just start digging deeper. And then my friends come along and they say, fucking suck it up, Harry, you can do this. But I couldn't suck it up, so I just started digging deeper. Then the doctor and the psychologist come past. And then they give me therapy. And then they give me some drugs. And now I can't feel myself in the hole, so I keep digging deeper. Then my family come past and they say, can't you do it for me? But I can't do it for them, so I keep digging deeper. Out of nowhere, some other fucker jumps into the hole with me, and I say, what the fuck are we going to do now? We're both stuck. And he says, I've been here before. I know how to get out.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
that's
beautiful. Beautiful to me, mate, because that explains to me another person who has been in the hole of addiction, helping someone else get out.
Yeah.
And how all the other help, as much as they were trying to, they couldn't help me. And I believe this to my core, so I will just go and say it. Like, I believe the only help for someone who is truly maladied with this illness we've got is another drug addict.
Yeah. Do you know what? It's just funny you say that. Like, didn't really think about it that way. But the one time it resonated for me was listening to a podcast with an Australian geezer, like fucking over the other side of the world. Everybody else has tried. You know, everybody. My missus has said, like, please, just stop. She's like begging me, like, please stop. And I'm just like, not interested. You know, my mum and dad, same thing, exactly what you said. And then it was just that one time he suggested something, or he said it, and he said something that resonated with me. All of a sudden, I was like, fuck, look at him. Like, he's got a podcast. He's like fucking sorted his life out. Yeah. And I needed to hear it from someone else. And that's another thing, even with like the therapy side of things as well. People always suggest like go to therapy, but if your therapist hasn't been through a been there, bro. an addict
I've been there, man.
Addiction cycle, or they haven't been through problems with drugs and alcohol, they're going to tell you to do these exercises where you write down 3 things and all of that stuff,
drink diaries and all that bollocks, and mate. I've done it.
But when it didn't work for me, like I tried it and it just didn't work for me. So it's what you said is so true, basically.
And I'm not discrediting the help of professionals.
Yeah.
Because like therapy's helped me for other things. Medication's useful, when it is. Like, I don't pretend to be a doctor or anything like that. But what I'm saying is, when it comes to addiction, the most effective help is someone that understands you.
100%.
And that's just the main message that I'm trying to get across.
Yeah.
And it seems like it was the same for you.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Yeah. Like I needed to find a community of people that are going through the same thing. There's always a part of me as well that is so intrigued by the 12-step program, and almost like I've always had this battle in my head, like, should I, shouldn't I? And now I feel like, I'm too far along. But I don't know if you are. And it's just things that you have to fucking just get real with yourself. Like, that's what it is. And you can tell from talking to you today, like you said, Harry in the squat rave, doing gear on his own or whatever. Like, who the fuck's that? Do you know what I mean? Like, meeting you today, it's just like that
strange,
geezer doesn't exist. What are you talking about?
I'm trying to look at you and I'm thinking, I'm trying to put you in that place. But with the steps, and like for you and for anyone else, because I've got to keep it anonymous. But the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking and using. That's all you need. Anybody's welcome. Anybody's welcome, mate. Whether you're, one thing I've started to respect down the line is different things work for different people.
Yeah, of course.
And at the end of the day, the main thing is that we're alive and we're happy to be alive.
Yeah.
Sober and happy did not come together to me, but that is what life is like now. I'm sober and I'm happy about it. What the fuck?
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? But I think that's another thing as well. It's funny you say that, because I was the same in regards to, I thought the way I got sober was the only way to get sober, and then it wasn't until you do stuff like this, like you talk to different people, and you just realize, and then also you get to a point where like you start to appreciate other people being sober, and then that becomes part of my recovery, is like helping people and watching them grow. And then, but then there's someone who's, you know, like you, for example, you're 2 years further down the line. What you've said today is going to help me, let alone the people that are listening, you know. And then someone who you go to a meeting with next week is going to say something that's going to help you in your 4 years down the line. And it's just this never ending domino effect.
That's why I keep coming, mate. And they do say you're a newcomer until you're 10 years sober.
Yeah.
Because the amount of change that is continuing to happen to me, good and bad, is crazy. You know, and the experiences that I'm trying to have, like, it keeps going. And that's why people say, like, until you're 10 years, mate, you've got so much learning to do about yourself and about other things that it's exciting. You know what it is? It's exciting.
100%. And that's the other thing as well, is like, you think you've ticked off every, you know, you get like sober first and you think, oh, what more can I do for the first time?
Oh, mate, you've only just opened the door, you know what I mean?
There's like, so much stuff, and then you do it and you're like, oh, fuck yeah, like, didn't even think about that. But we've been talking for an hour.
Feels like 10 minutes, bro.
I know, but I've got one last question that I ask everyone on the podcast, and it would be, what is the one piece of advice you would give to someone at the beginning of their recovery journey, which you wish you received at the beginning of yours, or maybe in your case, you did receive?
If I can put that one on me. I'd say, no matter what, with whoever's helping you, be brutally honest. And honestly, there's nothing you've done that someone else in recovery now has not done. However embarrassing or mad it is, someone else that out there has done it, and there's someone out there that can relate to you. And I used to think that, I genuinely used to think I was the only one in the world that was like the way I was, but you're not. Like, you're genuinely not alone, and there is so many people that have found that key to sobriety that were just like you. Yeah. You just need to go out there and find them. And there's, in this day and age, there are so many avenues for you to find that help. So you're not alone.
Do you know what's, as you said that, I was thinking, like, everyone's journey is individual, but they're all the same. Do you know what I mean?
It all comes,
Everyone's journey is individual, but you are not that special. Like,
no, you're not that special.
Like, you think you are, but you ain't. Like, there's people exactly the same as you, 10 times worse than you, not as bad as you, but they're all after the same end goal.
And you all share that common problem, so you also share that common solution.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you know, and that's it's beautiful, mate. But it's been lovely to talk to you.
Yeah, you too, mate. Yeah, honestly, yeah. Thank you for, like I said, it was a refreshing episode, man. Like,
thanks, mate.
Fucking really refreshing, and I think, you know, people are going to benefit from this one way or another, whether they want help to get sober or just to get fucking honest with themselves. So. Yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
No worries.
Sorted. Bye.